Space Shuttle Discovery, the venerable veteran of America's human spaceflight fleet, proudly resting atop Launch Pad 39A here at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida, her wings outstretched and ready to soar into space for the 39th and final time.
We're now close to entering the final countdown for the launch of the last flight of Space Shuttle Endeavour on mission STS-134. From Launch Complex 39 at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, this is Shuttle Launch Control at T-minus 3 hours and holding. And we're now in the final 5 hours of the countdown for the launch of the last flight of the Space Shuttle program and Space Shuttle Atlantis on STS-135.
Go for main engine start. We have main engine start.
4, 5. All 3 engines up and burning.
Booster ignition and the final liftoff of Discovery.
Liftoff for the final launch of Endeavour. Liftoff, the final liftoff of Atlantis. On the shoulders of the Space Shuttle, America will continue the dream.
Booster separation confirmed.
Booster separation.
Booster officer confirms staging a good solid rocket booster separation. Guidance now converging.
In Houston, we have a tally ho on the ISS out the front windows. That thing is a lot bigger since the last time I was here.
Here we go.
Good morning, Marshall Spaceport Center. Thanks for that great message.
Discovery and ISS, please stand by for the President.
You know why I'm wearing these? Because it looks cool. It looks cool.
Hey, all the checks look good. Are you guys ready? 81, born ready.
Locked. Main gear touchdown. The nose of the shuttle being rotated down toward the flight deck. The parachute being deployed. And nose gear touchdown and the end of a historic journey. And to the ship that has led the way time and time again, we say farewell, Discovery.
Main gear touchdown. Drag chute deployed by Greg Johnson. Forward gear touchdown. And so after a journey of 6.5 million miles, Endeavour landing in darkness, but illuminated by the ingenuity, dedication of every astronaut, scientist, engineer, flight controller, mechanic, and dreamer that helped it fly.
Main gear touchdown. Hurley now deploying the drag chute. Ferguson rotating the nose gear down to the deck. Nose gear touchdown. Having fired the imagination of a generation, a ship like no other, its place in history secured, the Space Shuttle pulls into port for the last time. Its voyage at an end.
We have a go for main engine start. Mission and liftoff of Discovery, celebrating its 25th birthday by racking up science and supplies to the space station. The solid rocket boosters flew away.
Columbia, Houston, UHF comm check. Roger, roger.
Every generation grew up alongside NASA in a different way. Some of us were maturing in the days of the Mercury and Gemini programs, when mankind was struggling to simply get people into orbit. Those people would subsequently always remember the Mercury Redstone launch vehicle, and Alan Shepard crammed into his cockpit in his shiny aluminum suit covered in tubes.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
All right, liftoff, and the clock is starting. Yes, sir. We can allow it clear.
Or perhaps they would remember the paired crews of Gemini who were launched into orbit aboard a modified ICBM, the Titan II.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
0. Ignition and start. Liftoff.
At 10:16 Eastern Standard Time, Gemini 4 was on its way.
We have a roll program initiated.
I know. Okay, I'm separating from the spacecraft.
Okay, separate from the spacecraft in this dial line.
Okay, my feet are out. I think I'm dragging a little bit, so I don't want to fire the gun yet. Okay, I'm out.
Okay, he's out. Close to break.
The next generation grew up in the golden era, the Apollo program. These people watched NASA pour money and engineering knowledge into the world's most complicated controlled explosion that would eventually put men on the surface of the moon. This generation would forever see the Saturn V in their minds, the most powerful manned spacecraft ever constructed. They would forever know the image of Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin bouncing around on the rocky surface of our nearest natural satellite.
Underneath it says, "Here men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, July 1969, AD."
My generation grew up in the era of the space shuttle. The shuttle orbiter became the icon of NASA, the first thing that comes to mind when people think about going to space. It was even reflected in our media. Take a look at the Moonraker film, which used a fictional version of the shuttle before the real thing ever actually launched. Much later, the movie Armageddon would also use a pair of shuttle-inspired vehicles, patriotically naming them Freedom and Independence. Though this isn't too out of character, remember that the original planned space station was also to be named Freedom. The space shuttle was everywhere when I was a kid. Toys, models, keychains, bumper stickers, everything that could be merchandised with a shuttle on it was. It became not only the symbol of NASA, but the symbol of exploring space in general. With the shuttle around, people felt that the future of space travel had arrived. No more cramped and confined landing pods. No more capsules that look like fortified steel coffins. No, now we would go to space in a beautiful and stylish plane that transformed from a rocket after it launched. It was an era of hope and progress, but the truth of the program is so much more complicated. Was the shuttle perfect? Gods no. Its very design was mired with poor cost-benefit analysis and shortcuts to make the launch dates. The final vision wasn't quite what the original concept had made itself out to be, and worst of all, poor management resulted in more astronaut deaths than any other space program. Nevertheless, the shuttle did its job and then some. The International Space Station exists now, exactly as planned, all thanks to the shuttle and the daring astronauts who assembled her. The ISS is now itself a symbol of mankind's achievements, a giant orbiting laboratory the size of a football field that whizzes over our heads every 90 minutes. Not only that, but the shuttle launched many satellites that furthered our understanding of the universe, from the epic deep field photos of the Hubble telescope, to the raw data acquired by the Magellan probe as it approached Earth's hellish sister Venus, to the stunning images captured by the Galileo probe of Jupiter and its many moons. For a period of time, the space shuttle was at the forefront of science and exploration beyond our atmosphere. That legacy did not end the day the last shuttle landed. Speaking of, we have some final missions to detail, don't we? Space Shuttle Discovery was the first orbiter to be retired. Its final launch occurred on February 24th, 2011. The final mission delivered the Leonardo Multipurpose Logistics Module to the ISS, not for the first time, but for the last. When they left, the module would remain permanently docked as a stowage area. This flight also delivered a payload for SpaceX, foreshadowing the private company's future efforts for U.S. space travel. A SpaceX LiDAR sensor was added to the station as a test run for the Dragon spacecraft, which we're going to be hearing more about later. Discovery's 39th and final flight was scrubbed 5 times during preparation before it finally took off, with no significant problems during its last nerve-wracking 8.5-minute ride to orbit.
Go for main engine start. We have main engine start. 2, 1. Booster ignition and the final liftoff of Discovery. A tribute to the dedication, hard work, and pride of America's space shuttle team. The shuttle has cleared the tower.
onto its back for the 8.5-minute ride into orbit. Discovery now making one last reach for the stars. One minute, 50 seconds into the flight, we're standing by for separation of the twin solid rocket boosters. Discovery now traveling 2,695 miles an hour. Its altitude 24 miles. Downrange from the Kennedy Space Center 29 miles. Booster separation confirmed. Discovery's guidance is now converging as the shuttle's onboard computers fine-tune the flight. This RPM maneuver was created in the wake of Shuttle Columbia. It was put into every shuttle mission that has visited the space station since then. It gives the ground teams here in Houston a chance to take a look at the shuttle in detail to make sure that the outer part of the shuttle and the heat shield is as they expect it to be. Discovery putting on quite a show there as it and the space station fly over the northeastern part of South America, about to head out over the Atlantic Ocean.
Hey, all right.
Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Steve.
Hello. How you doing?
Hi, Steve.
Ima.
Hey,
good to see you. How you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Hello.
Coming at you.
Coming at you.
Woohoo, Nicholas.
Hello.
Hello.
Excellent. Excellent. Video girl.
Woohoo. Yeehaw.
5:17 p.m. Houston time. The hatch is opened into the permanent multi-purpose module, the final pressurized module of the U.S. section of the International Space Station.
After 12 days of work, the shuttle undocked from the station, and 2 days later, deorbited and returned to the Kennedy Space Center.
Discovery departing.
We'll miss you guys. Discovery station on the big loop. Go ahead, Scott. Yeah, Steve, as you guys are heading home, I wanted to say one last time that we really enjoyed your company on board, and I'm really proud of what we accomplished together as a team here on the space station, but also including the larger team in Houston and all the control centers around the world. This space program and doing something as complicated as this really takes a team effort, and I think what we've proven here this last week. I'd like to wish you guys a safe rest of your flight and a safe landing, and I will see you all back in Houston here in about a week or so.
Discovery has contributed greatly to the space shuttle program. She's flown a good portion of the major, most significant flights in the space shuttle program. She deployed the Hubble Space Telescope, 13 trips to the space station, contributing to the assembly of the space station in a very big way. She's been to the Mir space station. She's done science missions. She's done all of the return to flight test missions, both after Challenger and after Columbia, bringing us back into space after those tragedies. On this final day on orbit, when I think about Discovery, I think about all that. I think about all the people that went before us on this vehicle, but mostly what I think about are the thousands and thousands of people across the space shuttle program these past 30 years who designed this vehicle, built this vehicle, have taken care of this vehicle, and operating this vehicle, not just from the cockpit, but also those who operated this vehicle from the ground. And that is her greatest legacy to me.
Our first views of Space Shuttle Discovery as it bears down on the Kennedy Space Center. The two air data probes on the left and right side of Discovery's nose have been deployed. They are measuring the speed of the wind around the vehicle and updating the airspeed and rate of descent to the onboard computers. Main gear touchdown. The nose of the shuttle being rotated down toward the flight deck. The parachute being deployed. and nose gear touchdown and the end of a historic journey. And to the ship that has led the way time and time again, we say farewell, Discovery.
Discovery was retired upon wheel stop, having completed exactly 1 year, 365 days in space, and carried 252 people into orbit. On May 16th, 2011, the next orbiter made its final flight, Endeavour, which carried the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer to the ISS. If you didn't know, the AMS-02 is a CERN experiment that was mounted on the outside of the station used to measure antimatter in cosmic rays and further our understanding of dark matter.
7, 6, 4, 3, 2, 0, and liftoff for the final launch of Endeavour, expanding our knowledge, expanding our lives in space.
Houston, Endeavour, roll program.
Roger, roll, Endeavour.
Houston is now controlling. Endeavour beginning to roll over onto its back. The roll program underway as Endeavour begins a heads-down position on course for a 51.6 degree, 136 by 36 statute mile orbit. And standing by for separation of the solid rocket boosters. And this is the view of the damage area that the tile that crosses essentially over a couple of tiles. This area is between the right main landing gear door and the external tank door. There are 5 different scan locations, and this is the second of those 5. Again, the different angles will allow the damage assessment team to provide a very detailed 3-dimensional image after gathering all of this data on the ground.
Another amusing experiment was the Lego Blocks in Space experiment. 13 Lego kits were brought to the station, supposedly to see how they would react in microgravity. Honestly, I think someone at NASA was giving a subtle biting of the thumb to the US government, who initially budgeted for the shuttle program to be finished with Discovery's final flight. It's like they wanted to do something silly after having had to beg for extra funding from the House of Representatives. After 15 days of work, Endeavour had completed its 25th and final spaceflight, undocked from the station, and returned to Earth.
Houston and station, we have physical separation.
Houston copies.
Station copy. Endeavour departing. Fair winds and fallen seas, guys. Yeah, thanks, Ron. Appreciate all the help. It's a pleasure serving with you boys. Go Navy.
Endeavour setting her sails one last time, departing the International Space Station after 12 missions to the orbiting complex.
As we come up on about our 200th sunrise of the mission, we can clearly see AMS now on station and ELC-3. Just want to congratulate the whole team on the ground and the Expedition 27 and 28 crews for all the hard work that you guys have put into this. We're the ones that get to see this incredible view, but you're all with us in spirit, and this is really a new day for science aboard the space station. So thanks to all of you.
Endeavour, thanks very much for the kind words. We'll pass the message, and it's a pleasure for us to be part of the team.
Speed. And there's a referred camera view of the Space Shuttle Endeavour as it's coming in for a landing. Gear down and locked. landing gear touchdown. Drag chute deployed by Greg Johnson. Forward gear touchdown. And so after a journey of 6.5 million miles, Endeavour landing in darkness but illuminated by the ingenuity, dedication of every astronaut, scientist, engineer, flight controller, mechanic, and dreamer that helped it fly. The fleet's youngest ship completing its 122 millionth mile after its crew delivered an instrument to the International Space Station that will sift through the cosmic darkness for years to come.
Houston, Endeavour, we'll stop.
122 million miles flown during 25 challenging space flights. Your landing ends a vibrant legacy for this amazing vehicle that will long be remembered. Welcome home, Endeavour.
She spent 299 days in space and saw 173 crew members. On July 8th, 2011, the final shuttle mission launched. Atlantis, the workhorse of the fleet that had built the vast majority of the ISS, flew a surprisingly tame mission for the final one of the program. It was mostly a resupply mission, with the majority of the mission timeline taken up by cargo transfer.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All three engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. The final liftoff of Atlantis on the shoulders of the space shuttle. America will continue the dream.
Program, Houston.
Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Houston now controlling the flight of Atlantis. The space shuttle spreads its wings one final time for the start of a sentimental journey into history. 24 seconds into the flight, roll program complete. Atlantis now heads down, wings level on the proper alignment for its 8.5-minute ride to orbit. 4.5 million pounds of hardware and humans taking aim on the International Space Station. Booster officer confirms staging a good solid rocket booster separation. Guidance now converging. The main engine steering the shuttle on a pinpoint path to its preliminary orbit. 2 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight. Atlantis already traveling 3,200 miles an hour, 35 miles in altitude, 50 miles downrange. Now standing by for external tank separation.
Hey, Houston, we've gathered everybody here at the No-2 forward hatch. We have a couple different things we'd like to do today. The first of which is a special presentation, and that presentation is a special flag. That flag was handed to me personally just a few days before launch, and the crew of STS-135, the final shuttle mission, brought it to the International Space Station. And since we've been here, we've prominently displayed the flag on the forward flight deck. We actually had it there a little bit earlier on for a public affairs event, but Doug and I, Rex and Sandy, we just really liked it. It symbolized what we were all here for, and we left it there permanently. And I think it made us feel good. Well, we have that flag, and that flag is significant not only because we brought it up on this flight, but because it also flew on STS-1. This flag represents not just a symbol of our national pride and honor, but in this particular case, it represents a goal. This flag also will be flown prominently here by the forward hatch of No-2 to be returned to Earth once again by an astronaut that launches on a U.S. vehicle, hopefully in just a few years.
On flight day 12, the last shuttle undocked from the station, and a bell was rang in the station's Harmony node. The orbiter spent one more day in space, deploying a satellite that would test a new prototype solar panel, the shuttle program's 180th and final payload. On flight day 14, the 21st of July, the crew awoke to the wake-up call of God Bless America. They performed a deorbit burn over the Indian Ocean, and their fiery re-entry was captured from above by astronauts aboard the space station. Atlantis then landed at the Kennedy Space Center on runway 15 at 5:57 a.m. Within 1 minute, she had slowed to wheel stop, and the shuttle program had officially concluded.
Our first view through infrared cameras at the Kennedy Space Center. Commander Chris Ferguson now flying Atlantis. Piercing the pre-dawn sky as the space shuttle announces its arrival at the launch site with its signature sound of twin sonic booms having gone subsonic for the last time.
Hey, field in sight, Houston.
Copy, Atlantis. Field in sight.
The pre-flare maneuver executed. Landing gear down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Hurley now deploying the drag chute. Ferguson rotating the nose gear down to the deck. Nose gear touchdown. Having fired the imagination of a generation, a ship like no other, its place in history secured, the space shuttle pulls into port for the last time. Its voyage at an end.
Mission complete, Houston. After serving the world for over 30 years, the space shuttle's earned its place in history and it's come to a final stop.
We copy your will stop, and we'll take this opportunity to congratulate you, Atlantis, as well as the thousands of passionate individuals across this great spacefaring nation who truly empowered this incredible spacecraft, which for 3 decades has inspired millions around the globe. Job well done, America.
Hey, thanks, Butch. Great words. Great words. You know, the space shuttle's changed the way we view the world, and it's changed the way we view our universe. There's a lot of emotion today, but one thing's indisputable. America's not going to stop exploring. Thank you, Columbia, Challenger, Discovery, Endeavour, and our ship Atlantis. Thank you for protecting us and bringing this program to such a fitting end. God bless all of you. God bless the United States of America.
The mission board at the vehicle assembly building was empty. There were no more STS missions to be launched. For almost an entire decade, no crew would launch from American soil until SpaceX stepped up recently with the Crew Dragon spacecraft. 2 astronauts launched aboard a Falcon 9 rocket, carried smoothly into orbit, and docked with the International Space Station on the 30th of May 2020, and remains docked there as I record this video. We've entered a new age of exploration, one with boosters that can land themselves and touchscreens aboard cozy-looking crew capsules. Let's take a look at that launch as filmed by Red's Rhetoric, whose channel will, of course, be linked below.
In the clouds. We got it. We are tracking the Falcon 9. We are hearing the sound. We are hearing the sound right now. Here it comes. The sound's getting Got it. Yep, hang on. I can find it again. Another cloud. It's going to be there. Right there. Another cloud.
The one broad problem is the no or lose use but just as you know, that gives them the other time.
Yep. We're in a pretty big cloud now.
The future is now, my friends, and it is only with respect to the past that we look forward into the future. The Space Shuttle, for all its faults, was the most advanced vehicle of its time, and paved the way for mankind to return to the moon and then on to Mars, as we will do. This series has been a lot of fun to make. I hope you've all learned something, or at least enjoyed watching. I'd like to dedicate this series to my pet Saiyan, Myrai Vegeta, who encouraged me to do my best to provide quality content to you all. It's time to say goodbye to the Space Shuttle, so let's do so with a nice collection of shuttle launches. Get your popcorn, everyone, and thank you for coming.
T-minus 17, 16, 15.
Standing by the throttle down for max Q. Throttle's down to 67% to its period of maximum dynamic pressure. Standing by the throttle back up past to the speed of sound. Go at throttle up.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. We've run from main engine.
Columbia's re-entry is expected to produce a mild sonic boom centered a few miles west of Edwards Air Force Base.
What a way to come to California.
In flight photo, I still look perfect, right on the nominal.
But real good underneath.
Fido says it couldn't be any better. 9,000.
12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, remaining start, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, returning to the space station, paving the way for future missions beyond. Well, for
If you like this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe to my channel, which is Dead Kennedy in Space. If you want to support me further, consider donating on Patreon or purchasing some of my work through Amazon or Teespring. Thank you, and I'll see you over the curve, Space Cowboys.
Lived there, on the mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam, in a vast cosmic arena.